there are so many unwanted children who were taken and is placed in unwanted homes or is placed in group places, and when you have that kind of growing up, a lot of other things come with it. And so we decided to go that route and become foster parents. Hi everyone, welcome back to FIFAnomics. It's definitely been a minute. Life has been happening. So you definitely are going to hear poems and stories and things like that. I'm still going to keep the party going with those things, but right now I want to take a step away from that and focus on a series that I am starting, and it's called Not My Child, My Child. And it's honestly about foster kids, adopting a foster child or children, and life after the adoption. And so before we start, let's start off with this scripture, Mark 9, verse 37. And it says, "Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." So it's an honor to be able to adopt a child, whether they're a foster kid or straight adoption, whatever it is, because it takes a lot to bring a child that is not a part of you, your DNA, your blood flowing in your body, and bring them in your home and raise them as your own, right? It takes a lot. And so let me give you a little background about me. My family comes from a fostering lifestyle. My mother and her siblings were foster kids. My grandmother, apparently, I was told she never adopted them. So it left this gaping hole in my mother's heart. And I just saw a difference of like her being raised and her, her growing up, being raised by her, my apologies, being raised by her. And I also had a friend at the time. We were younger, 8th grade, and she actually was pregnant. And she went to high school, and she dropped her son off to me. He was 3 days old. I went to my father and asked him if he would help me raise him. And he looked at me like I was boo-boo the fool or crazy, but, he said, okay. And we went through a series. It was years of fighting and trying to make this child my child when I was only a child. I was like, 14, 15 in high school. Like it was rough. And there will be times where he's with me for a year and then they take him, or he's with me for a couple weeks and then they take him. And so it's just back and forth for so long. I remember the longest time he was with me was 2 years, because she was a foster child and her foster parent was ill. And so I was married, and we went to her and said, we want to take care of you and help you out. And we tried to bring her into our home, but she didn't want that, but she allowed us to take him. And so he was with us for a while, and, a lot of things happened from that, which we can, discuss on other topics, but because there will be other topics. But, so my whole life has been surrounded by the foster system. Even though I was not personally a foster child, I am a child of a foster child. And so I see the ramifications of things. So it's always been on my heart to want to adopt. And if I gave birth to a child, I honestly really didn't care one way or another. I just wanted a child. I've always wanted a child. I always wanted to take it, and I always wanted to adopt a kid. And so I met my husband. We've been married for 8 years now, and almost 9. And he also had the heart to want to adopt, but he wanted to adopt a deaf child. And so we tried different ways of seeing if we're going to adopt, or, international, within the state, foster. It was all these different options that we had. And it honestly broke my heart when we got to the foster system, because there are so many unwanted children who were taken and is placed in unwanted homes, or is placed in group places, and when you have that kind of growing up, a lot of other things come with it. And so we decided to go that route and become foster parents. And I would definitely talk about my experience in that foster system, because that was awesome. Not. But we ended up adopting 4 girls. And here's the funny part. Are you ready for this? I always wanted 4 boys. So you know that story when you tell God your plans? What is it? I don't know what it was. And he'll laugh at you or whatever. You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. That's what it is. You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans? Because I wanted 4 boys. And he was like, ha, ha, ha. Here's 4 girls. And I'm like, skink. That's not what I said, God. That ain't what I asked. That ain't what I wanted. I'm enough. You know, my emotions, all that is enough. I don't need FOMO. You know, but he has a funny way of making things better his way with a laugh. So here we are with these 4 girls, right? So let me tell you about these 4 girls. Right now, they are 6, 8, 10, and 13. Yeah, I know. They're 2 sets of blood siblings. My 2 younger ones, their names are Hope. Her middle name is Isabella. And then we have Violet, and her middle name is Faith, right? So we named them Hope and Faith. And then the other 2, we have Grace and we have Harmony. So we have Hope, Faith, Grace, and Harmony, right? And those are the names that we picked for them, but we didn't want to take away their birth name either, because everything is happens for a reason, right? So who they were is just as important as who they were is just as important to who they are. So we never wanted to take that away from them. So they had their names, and the only one that got a little switcheroo was Hope. You know, her middle name, her first name became her middle name, and then we renamed her Hope. But anyway, so we have these 2 sets. So Hope and Violet. Hope was 10 months when she came to us, but we started the process months before, you know, and Violet was 2. So, you know, that's that little difference. They're like, she's a little more than a year and a half older than her. And Hope was, oh my gosh, she smiled all the time. It's like nothing fazed this girl, nothing. And I felt like the worst parent during these years, and this girl's never cracked from smiling. Oh, okay. Never cracked from smiling, right? She's just an amazing, amazing little spunky, smiling, bright girl. All right. You are going to get tears, and I'm not going to apologize for my tears, because no one should have to apologize for feeling the things that they're feeling. So deal with it. Anyway, the next one is Violet. And Violet had such a hard life. Like, they both had a hard life, right? They were taken because of Hope, because she was physically abused at a few months, 3-4 months, and she had a broken hip. She had a bleeding hematoma, a cracked skull, and she was just like 3-4 months at the time. She had stopped breathing. They had to do CPR on her. She had seizures. So she came into our life in a very rough way, and we had to do a lot of therapy with her. We had to teach her to crawl and teach her to swallow, because she couldn't even swallow anything correctly until she was almost like 12 months, a year. I think she was like 11 months at the time. So let's just say she went through a lot, right? And so now so that's Hope. And then Violet had a lot of sexual abuse, but they didn't document it because they were taken because of Hope. And so they didn't take the time to see how Violet was damaged. And, but it was clear as day, the things that she went through. She had night terrors, every nap time, every bedtime. It took 2 hours to get her to take an hour nap. And I had to record it because no one would believe me, right? They thought because I'm exaggerative. Sometimes I'm intense, I get it, I understand, but they wouldn't believe me. I had to record. And I remember one time my sister, I showed her recording, and she was like, oh my gosh, I would never know that. But Violet also had trust issues. Any man that came near her, like 2 feet, she screamed bloody murder. Get away, get away. Like she like screamed. So it took a while for her to trust my husband, you know, her father. And even when she trusted him, that was it. She ain't trusting nobody else. She would look at you. Like, I have pictures after pictures after pictures, and she never smiled. Not once. I actually wrote a book about her. And it was about her not smiling. And it was called The Day She Smiled, because I remembered that day so well because she never smiled, right? But those are those two. And then you have these two sets of siblings. We have the 10-year-old and the 13-year-old. We have Carrie and we have Kia, right? And so Carrie, they both came when Carrie was 5 years old. She's 10 now. So she was 5. So they came 5 years ago. So Kia was 8 years old. Kia depended on Carrie for everything, right? Harmony, oh my gosh, Grace had to do everything for her. Tie her shoes, go get her food. But then Kia wouldn't talk at all. I also switched the names back and forth because I call them all the names, you know. And so she would not talk. It took 10 months for Harmony to talk in our home. And my husband and I had to decide if we were going to adopt them, that she may never leave our home. And if that's something that we were willing to do. And one day, this girl just up and just started running around and kicking and laughing and talking. I'm like, what the? You can talk? You can understand that? 10 months of no talking, no communication. I would tell her, Kia, go and grab the pencil right there. And she'll just look at me like, and you're like, what? And so we did not know that she could really function. And because Carrie did everything for her. But after a while, you know, it's that trust, you know, that trust thing. After a while, she started trusting us. Whew. And when she started trusting us, she started becoming her own person. And that is the beginning of the journey of the struggles with my 10-year-old, because her sister no longer needed her. And when that happened, she was able to be a child again. But here you have this 5-year-old required to be an adult and to care for her 8-year-old sister in everything. I mean, the system would not even separate them. They had other siblings that were separated and were placed in homes to be adopted, and they would not separate them because even the system felt like Kia needed Carrie too much to depend on. And they don't know what I know. Like, oh my gosh, Harmony can function. She can live on her own. She can do things. She just did not trust. They stripped that trust from her life. And it just, to this day, like if you're new, she won't give you the time and she'll look at you like you boo-boo the fool, because you have to earn that trust with her. She needs to know that she can be safe with you. And so you have these two girls, right? You know, these two sets, right? And you have this one set that, you know, had the physical and the sexual. And then you have these two. It definitely was physical. It definitely was sexual. And it was a lot more. Like it was, this is like that, was that network that talks all, you know, all these emotion, that pulls that emotional stuff. I forgot the ABC, I forgot anyway, but, I feel like their stories should be on those shows, you know. It's that riveting, that emotional. And yet they're in our homes. They're in a home with a mother who wanted 4 boys. But one is, I forgot to tell you, Harmony is also hard of hearing. So she has a learning disability, a mental disability, and she is hard of hearing. And although she can survive on her own, which I'm grateful that we were able to see, that is going to require a lot on our end to help her to be able to function and be on her own, right? And so here we are with 4 girls in a home where I wanted 4 boys. And I like you see what you want, and then you after time goes by, you look back and you say, I see why you did that, God. Like, I understand it, I get it. You know, but there's some times where I still don't get it, you know, because just like I said, the moment when Harmony decided to start being independent and doing things on her own and start trusting herself and building that confidence and trusting us, you know, that's when Carrie took a turn for the worse. And that's when she started acting out. And I'm not talking about, oh, little kids act out all the time. I'm talking about her being 7.5, 8 years old. I mean, they always had these issues. These two didn't because they were so young. It was different issues with them. But these two always had issues of peeing in the bed all the time, 3-4 times in a week. We had to wear, they had to wear the big girl diapers, but not just in bed. They had to wear them going to school because they would just sit and just stand there and pee on themselves, in school and drenched in pee. And I'm like, what? And so we went through it. Of course, we went through the stealing, the hoarding, the lying. Those are all the more common things when you definitely deal with foster kids, right? So I'm not even talking about those things. Even those are enough in itself. I'm talking about when Harmony gained her independence, Carrie lashed out like jumping off of our roof. We got 2 floors here. We got a second floor upstairs, right? And actually their room is literally right above our room right now. And she jumped off the roof to try to run away because she didn't want to wash dishes. She has been in psych wards in this year alone. In 2023 alone, she's been in 3 psych wards. We've called the cops on her about 4 times. And 95% of these lashes and acting out is because she didn't want to do something. She didn't want to do the dishes. She didn't want to clean. She didn't want to clean her room. And that just snowballed into this major thing, right? And I mean, that's just a snippet. I'm talking she chased her sister around with a knife because her sister told her that the butter knife was dirty. And luckily it wasn't a real knife. Like, well, it was a real knife. A knife is a knife, right? But she got mad at her and, came at her like, is this dirty? And she literally chasing her around the kitchen. It's stuff like that we have to deal with. She physically puts her hands on, my husband. And he has so much restraint in him. She's made threats and it's just been a lot. And we'll go more into detail about some of those things. So what is it that I need from you, from my viewers, from the people listening and giving, and receiving this information? What is it that I need? I need you to listen to me, right? I definitely need prayer. We always need prayer. But we tend to have a habit of, as soon as you hear something, you want to give a solution. Boom, boom, boom. Do this, do that, do this, do that. And solutions are good, but we have, just letting you know, we have therapy. We are therapied out right now. Joe and I have always had therapy since we've been since we've been married. I've had therapy before marriage, but we have a view of why wait till we get into it and mess things up to get help. Let's get help throughout the process. And that's just our opinion. That's what we feel. And it's amazing for us. And then you have Carrie, Grace, who she has her her psychiatrist, her regular therapist, her psychologist. She's on medication. We have family therapy, which is some of the requirements that are required by the state to in order to get the extra mental help for Grace, right? And so I'll just call her Carrie. I don't want to keep going back and forth and, messing it up, whatever. But, with Carrie. And so we have that family, group therapy that we have to do that we do on Mondays, not have to do, but we choose to do on Mondays. And then we're on this, thing, there's some waiver that you got to be on to fit the requirements, because you got to cross a lot of T's and dot a lot of I's to show the government, hey, this child is, severely intense and we need some help with. They won't do it unless you do a lot of things first to show, well, you tried everything, you've exhausted every resource. So we also are on this little waiver thing where they come into your house and they do therapy in your home and they monitor your home and they tell you what you're doing wrong as a parent and how you need to do better, which is exhausting. So going back to what we need, it's always good to get advice. I will never not get advice. However, I need wisdom with this advice. Meaning what? I need you to listen to me, to empathize with me, to relate to me before you just boom, boom, boom. Have you tried this? Have you done this? Have you gone there? Because that don't work for me, you know? And so I need relatability that works. So I want to create this network with us where I'm talking, you're talking, we're sharing our experiences, we're sharing what works for us and what doesn't, you know, and we have a platform because I have been searching for a group of people to relate to. And it's been wall after wall after wall, and I just feel like the system is failing. It's failing these kids. It's failing these parents. It's failing us. You know, it's been 2 years of horridness. I'm gonna create words. It's been 2 years of crappiness, you know, like I'm just being real. And I need relatability. I need to know that we're not out here alone. And I need you to know that you're not alone also. So we're gonna continue this series. And I'm not gonna be long-winded also, you know. But it's important that we have a platform because I don't feel like we have something like this out in the world right now, that everything is in the world for everybody to see. You want this, you want that, put it on TV, do this. But we don't have real support for people who have taken children that are not theirs, especially older kids. Because I took a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. Some people take teenagers, you know. But you take these kids who are not your blood, who you do not push out of your body, you know, and you tell God you're going to love them and that you're going to protect them and you're going to care for them and you're going to teach them His ways and you're going to do right by them. And then you get them and you screw up like 1,001 times, you know, and everything is a learning thing. Even if you give birth to your children, you're learning, you're going to mess it up. But, you know, you're on this journey with these kids who have been damaged to the core by the people who were supposed to protect them and love them and care for them. And you know you're going to do more damage to them in different ways. But even as I'm trying to protect them, I'm damaging them in all kinds of ways. However, I need a group of people that are like, I'm with you, sis. I understand. I get it. I feel the same way. This is what's helping me. This is what's not helping me. And I'm able to say, hey, this is what's helping me. This is what's not helping me. So I hope you guys are out there. I hope you're listening to it, and I hope you take it and you receive it. So what I need is for you to listen. I need that empathy. I need you to subscribe to me. I need you to leave your comments in the field. And I need you to come back and chat with me and have these conversations, because I'm going to talk about a lot. I'm going to have a lot of topics, you know. And so the scripture that I opened up with, which was Mark chapter 9, verse 37, which said, whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me. We welcome these kids into our lives, you know, and that's a big thing in God's eyes. It's a big thing in God's eyes. And you just need a little bit more direction on how to not screw them up and screw yourself up in the process, dealing with all this baggage these kids are bringing without ruining them, you know? And so that's what I'm hoping we can get from this. So I love you guys. Holla at you later with Fifanomics. Bye.